Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session of Language Labs. My name is Hailey Schademann, and today I'll be discussing with you the topic of how we measure language fluency. And trust me, it's a lot more complicated than it sounds. We'll be going over what it means to have fluency, different ways to test it, and how you can up yourself to the next level. So, what does language fluency really look like? Let's take a look at an old US presidential candidate, Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Back in the 2020 election, people were highly impressed with Mr. Buttigieg because of his proficiency in 7 different languages.
How many languages do you speak?
It depends what you mean by speak. So I've gotten pretty rusty in my Arabic and my Dari, which I picked up Dari on my way to Afghanistan. I can still kind of read a newspaper in Norwegian, but only slowly.
Bonjour, je suis Pete Buttigieg de Schademann, Indiana.
Peuple de France, je voudrais dire que nous partageons la douleur aujourd'hui, que la cathédrale de Notre-Dame, c'était comme un cadeau à l'espèce humaine.
أهلا وسهلا أنا بيت بوتيجيج رئيس مدني في مدينة ساوث بند إنديانا.
Hay que establecer un sentido de inclusión en nuestro país y no solamente en el asunto de inmigración, pero en todos los asuntos económicos y los asuntos de seguridad, estamos juntos.
سلام بيت بوتيجيج هستم.
Sì, chiaro, ma tutto il perspectivo europeo è tanto importante. Scusi, è difficile dimenticate molto, ma sorry, I'm out of Italian too.
سلام بيت بوتيجيج هستم.
Jag glömde så mycket av
Hvordan var du lærte det?
Jeg har lagt en bok som heter Norsk nordmenn og Norge. Då jag bodde i Chicago, vi hade en kyrka, en norsk luthersk minikyrka, som hade ett präst som var.
Can you imagine the time and effort he had to put in to reach such a fluent level? Think about how much time you have spent learning English. Could you do that 5 more times? In reality, Pete might have been exaggerating when he said he is proficient in 7 languages. Buttigieg is clearly fascinated by languages, he's willing to learn, and he's brave enough to practice with native speakers on television. Qualities that are great for any language learner. But like so many students who want to go from beginner to native in just a short amount of time, Buttigieg may have underestimated what it really means to speak a language. I know that I myself can relate all too well to overestimating one's abilities. Over a year and a half ago, I moved to Mexico with all the confidence I could speak the language, Spanish. Unfortunately, reality hit when I kept having to ask, "What? Can you repeat that?" One too many times. It was a time when I realized that getting straight A's in college didn't exactly mean I was a native level speaker. Yet. So then, what really is fluency? Well, according to Daniel Morgan, head of learning development at a popular language school in Italy, fluency refers to how smoothly and efficiently a second language speaker can speak on a range of topics in real time. This means no translators, just pure brain power. However, be careful with this, because while someone may have the capability to make full sentences and have the other person understand what they're saying, this does not mean that the non-native speaker is speaking correctly, grammatically, or with vocabulary, or with nuances, which we'll talk about in a second. Take a look at this example, this graph, right? This is a graph showing the Dow Jones Industrial Average over time. And I could say, to describe this graph, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has skyrocketed over time. But wait, is that really how we should say it? Is skyrocketing really the right word to use there? Listen again. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has skyrocketed over time. Now take a look at the graph. Does skyrocketed fit here? Or do you think there is a better way to complete this sentence? Take a look at this following question and let me know what you think. Did you get the answer right? Awesome. This graph shows the temperature is steadily rising. If you take a look at that line, right, it's not going up straight like a rocket, which is in the case we use skyrocket or skyrocketed. This graph is clearly showing that it's going up or it's steadily rising over time, not skyrocketing. Nice job. Let's take a look at another example. Rising use of the internet rests behind the finding on concentration. Listen again. Rising use of the internet rests behind the finding on concentration. But think, is rests really the correct word here? Think it through and give it your best shot. Sometimes the difference actually doesn't come in writing, but rather in speaking. Word emphasis in English can make a huge difference in meaning. Listen closely to my next sentence. I'll repeat it 2 times, once normal and once with an emphasis, and then tell me what you think the meaning of the sentence is. Normal sentence. I didn't say that she stole her jewelry. Now sentence with emphasis. I didn't say that she stole her jewelry. Take a look at that and think, what's the meaning with that emphasis? Again, I didn't say that she stole her jewelry. Think, what does that second sentence mean? Did you hear it? It's such a slight difference in sound, but such a huge difference in meaning. Let's talk about some of these differences. Take a look here. If we put different emphasis on different parts of the sentence meaning changes. The words are completely the same, the definition of those words are completely the same, but the entire meaning of the sentence is completely different. Take a listen. In that sentence, I never said that she stole her jewelry. It means though someone else says so. So I never said it. I never said that she stole her jewelry, but someone else said so. Or I never said that she stole her jewelry, meaning I deny it. I deny that I said that ever. Okay? What about this next one? I never said that she stole her jewelry, which implies that I didn't say it, but I won't admit it, that I didn't notice it, right? What about I never said that she stole her jewelry, meaning that someone else was the thief. She wasn't the thief, it was someone else. Or how about I never said that she stole her jewelry, meaning that she didn't steal it, maybe she's just borrowing it. Or what about this next one? I never said that she stole her jewelry, so she might not have stolen her jewelry, but she did steal the other lady's. And what if we put the emphasis on that last word in the sentence? I never said that she stole her jewelry, meaning she didn't steal the jewelry, but she probably stole something else. So do you see there how such a slight difference in emphasis and the way that you say things can really make a big difference? It seems like tough stuff, right? But with time and with practice, you'll be capable of both understanding and using what we call nuances, or the slight difference in words that seem very similar. So, are you starting to get the idea that maybe language fluency is a lot more complicated than just grammar and vocabulary? We'll go over some tips on how you can improve your fluency more towards the end, but in the meantime, we'll take a look at how we measure language fluency. So we've talked about a few different parts of fluency, what is made up of, but how do we know how we measure fluency? There are a number of ways that we can measure language fluency, especially in English. For example, there are tests such as the TOEFL or the IELTS that have become highly popular methods to test English language fluency. These tests, along with the Cambridge and the TOEIC tests, can give you an idea of where you sit on the CEFR scale. If you haven't heard of the CEFR scale, it's basically a scale that goes from A1 all the way up until C2. Sometimes you'll see different types that might have a plus, but the main one is A1, A2, B1, B2, and C1, C2. Your A levels are your basic levels, B levels are your intermediate, and C levels, where you are, is your advanced levels. So that's your CEFR scale. Or if we want to go more informal, you can sit down and have conversations with native speakers, which might also give you a basic idea of where your level stands. However, Many learners fall into the trap of assuming that just because you can be understood, their speech is perfect. This isn't always the case. Among linguists, it's a commonly known fact that a native speaker can easily edit out the mistakes of another person. So, for example, it's common that native Spanish speakers say, I have 25 years, which a native speaker can quickly skip over and understand as, I am 25 years old, the grammatically correct sentence in English. Furthermore, even if a speaker does hear a mistake, it's more likely they won't even correct the mistake, unless they're your teacher. So, what's better, the formal or the informal way? How can we really know if someone is fluent in a language? Luckily, scales for measuring spoken fluency and overall proficiency exist, and they're not never-ending tests. Daniel Morgan, who I mentioned a little bit ago, has explained that fluency is an abstract concept. So, in order to test it, we have assigned observable variables. Two of the most reliable factors are speech rate and utterance length. No worries, sounds very scientific, but let me explain. Speech rate can be defined as how much effective language you're producing over time, such as how many syllables you speak per minute. Utterance length is, as an average, how much language you can produce between disfluencies. Disfluencies meaning a pause or hesitation. You could look at accuracy as being absorbed into fluency in terms of grammatical accuracy, word choice, pronunciation, and grammatical precision. So we have these two main parts, right? Your speech rate and your utterance length, but you can also take a look at accuracy, as I just said, as being another part of fluency. But this accuracy has many different sub-variables to it. So if you prefer not to take a certification test, simply sitting down with a native speaker and trying to test yourself based on these criteria might be a good way to see where your level lies. However, if you're looking for that certificate to give you a leg up at work and prove that you really know your stuff, take a look into the 4 tests I mentioned earlier: the Cambridge, TOEFL, TOEIC, and the IELTS. Want to know what these tests look for? Watch the next video to find out.
IELTS, TOEFL, Cambridge, and TOEIC. Each of them you can take to test or prove your English level. But what is the difference between them? Let's go further. International English Language Testing System, or IELTS. IELTS exam is designed to test the language ability of people who want to study or work where English is used as the language of communication. IELTS was developed in the UK, but now it is widely accepted by educational institutions, employers and government immigration agencies that require proof of English language skills as part of their recruitment or admission procedures. IELTS is recognized and accepted by over 9,000 organizations worldwide. You can select either academic or general IELTS track. The academic track is for people who will do a program of study in English, usually at a university, and want to use and understand academic language. The general track is for people who want to work in English or emigrate to an English-speaking country, but do not need to write university essays or listen to academic information. If you choose IELTS exam, you will receive your scores on a scale 1-9, with 9 being expert proficiency, and the IELTS results are valid for 2 years after the test date. Test of English as a Foreign Language, or TOEFL. TOEFL test measures your ability to use and understand English at university level. This test also checks how well you combine your listening, reading, speaking and writing skills to perform your academic tasks. You will receive a score out of 30 for each of 4 sections, bringing your overall total to a maximum of 120 points. The exam is suitable for students planning to study at higher educational institutions or for admission to workers' visa application. One big difference between TOEFL and IELTS: that TOEFL uses American English and IELTS uses British English. As TOEFL was developed in the USA, some US universities prefer their students to have a TOEFL score. And TOEFL scores are valid for 2 years after the test date, just the same as IELTS. Cambridge. The Cambridge exams were developed in the UK. The results, just like for IELTS and TOEFL, are recognized worldwide by employers, educational institutions and government, and can give you access to study, work and immigration to English-speaking countries. The exam tests your knowledge of British English. One of the biggest advantages of this exam, a Cambridge certificate is valid forever. All the Cambridge exams follow the same format. You have to take 4 components: reading and use of English, speaking, writing, and listening. There are 4 different difficulty levels of the exam: preliminary or PET, first or FCE, advanced or CAE, and proficiency or CPE. PET is the lowest level exam, which shows you have a grasp of the English language and you can manage basic communication and discuss simple things. FCE is for intermediate students and shows you have sufficient skills in the English language to live in an English-speaking country or are able to speak confidently in the language. CAE is for strong candidates who are considered advanced. For this, you will need to prove you have excellent spoken and written English. CPE is the most difficult and prestigious qualifications which proves your English is equivalent to a native speaker. It is a pretty tough exam. The one I've chosen is FCE, or B2 First. It is the exam you should take if you want to prove you have reached the level B2, also called Upper Intermediate. And if you do very well on the B2 First exam, your overall score may show you are at level C1. Or if you find the exam difficult, you may receive a score showing you are at level B1. And the same rule works for other levels. So I really like that Cambridge exams give you a wide variety of results. However, 80% of students who pass the B2 First exam have a score showing they are at level B2. And I'll say it once again, all the Cambridge exams have no expiry date, so you will have that prize qualification on your resume forever. Test of English for International Communications, or TOEIC. This test is a bit less popular than previous ones, because TOEIC is most commonly used for business, so it almost certainly won't be relevant to university applications. But anyway, it is good to be aware of it. Many companies, especially ones based in Asia, use TOEIC scores to measure whether the employees are able to work with English-speaking clients. And there are plenty more English language proficiency exams offered, but these are the most widely recognized.
So how did you do? Good? All right, more or less? No worries. It's all good. I'm not grading you. Not yet. So no matter how you did, it's at least important to note the major differences between the tests, such as for what reason each one is used. If you're ever in the market for a language certification, make sure you know why you're getting it. Is it just for fun? To immigrate to a new country? For work? Or for university? Each place that you're looking into, whether it's for work or for university or just for fun, each place will have their own requirements, so it's important that you research before you take the test, because you could get yourself into some hot water if you take the wrong one. So you've taken the test. Now what? Well, step 1, show off your certificate. Having an official body recognize that you have a certain level in your second language is great. It shows that you've been putting in the work and, to a certain degree, you're a qualified language user. So step 2 is, if you don't like your score, it's time to put in the work to keep getting better. You might be asking me, but how can I get better? I feel like I've been working for ages and nothing has changed. One of the first things you need to remember is that progress is not linear. It doesn't go in a straight line. Progress can go up and it can go down, but the most important part through all of it is that you keep trying. One thing that sticks out with the best language learners is that they have the motivation and the determination to keep going, no matter what happens on their journey. Another thing that you can do is practice regularly. That can be with lessons or it can be on your own time, but regular practice gets you using a wide range of vocabulary and grammar structures. Without this practice, it can be easy to forget or difficult to remember things that constantly trip you up. Remember, practice makes perfect. One of the best things after this that you can do to really amp up your level of English is to immerse yourself as much as you can in the language. This might look like watching TV shows or movies only in English, listening to podcasts like TED Talks, which have a fantastic amount of podcasts on Spotify. They're easily available and it's a wide range of topics, so it can really fit whatever your interest is. But overall, do everything that you can to surround yourself in the language. What I did is I moved to a different country, and it's worked out pretty well for me. I also had an old Spanish professor that always said the best way to learn a language is to find a boyfriend or girlfriend who only speaks that language. It might not work for everyone here, but it might be worth a shot. You never know. The next thing I'll mention, the next thing I suggest is to write regularly. If writing is one of your weaknesses, daily journaling should become your best friend. So grab a notebook and at the end of every day, write about what your day was like. Write about the feelings and the experiences. This not only reinforces what you already know, but it forces you to think outside of the box for any new experiences as well. All in all, apart from these things, remember, like I said, practice makes perfect, but so does patience. Fluency will come to you over time, so please don't give up. You're almost there. As we're coming to the end of our session today, I think it's time to do a quick review of everything before you take your final exam. Today, we discussed what fluency is, that it's about how smoothly and efficiently we can speak in real time. Remember, no translators. We also talked about nuances, or the small ways languages can change through wording or verbal emphasis. Doesn't matter if you're writing or if you're speaking, but nuances can make a big impact on the meaning of a sentence, right? And do you remember what's next? Right. How we can test fluency, both formally and informally. Formally with our 4 types of tests, informally by finding a native speaker. In this case, if you don't have any native speaker friends, maybe try to join a language exchange, which is another great way to practice regularly. And ultimately, we discussed how to get your English to the next level. Try to remember those last tips because some of them might really work for you if you've never tried them before. Thank you so much for chiming in to this week's session of Language Labs, and I will see you next time. I've appreciated and absolutely love this time with you. So good luck on that final.